one or something like that. Welcome to Stand Up Speakeasy. I'm your host, Sareth Ney, and every episode I bring a comic from across the country. I found out that it kind of blew up during 2020 when everyone was locked down, and I'm like, this is fantastic. I'm getting everyone from all the states pretty much. So without
Awesome,
further
awesome.
ado, coming all the way from Indianapolis is or Indiana is Bloomington, Indiana is Thomas Gerson. How are you, pal?
I'm killing it. How are you, man?
Fantastic, dude. I'm glad that you're going to Colorado for the fest, and
Yes,
we'll try to get you some more shows or something. I don't know how it
yes.
all works out, but did you go to the website for the Colorado comedy?
I did. Yes, I'm very excited. I've been there a couple times because I like semi spent half my time growing up in Colorado, so I got a lot of family there. So I've been there a couple times, tried to get myself into the community a little bit. So I've used that website a lot and been doing a lot of mics.
Awesome, fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love like the Mike scene in Denver. I went and did the High Plains Comedy Festival one, and they had it at the Mutiny Information Cafe, and I bombed there. And I'm like, I need to go back and redeem myself. So that's what I
Yeah,
do about
yeah.
the mics.
Yeah, it happens. I was pleasantly surprised uh, the first time I did mics in Denver. It was such like a. I figured it would be a shift, kind of politically. I thought it would be more of like a blue kind of room rather than a red because I am from Arkansas and Indiana. But it was perfect. It was just if a joke's good, it's gonna work. You know.
Yeah, most definitely, and that's like the way that I write is like it has to be universal and not for like a central. Like there's so many Daytona jokes,
Yeah.
that I'm like, all right, I gotta bring it like to like where everyone understands, or at least make it simple,
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
what I learned in my journalism is like that term, the acronym KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid. And so I put the last S as Sareth, so I keep it simple, Sareth. I'm like, all right.
Nice. Nice. Personalize it a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
That is something I've learned like doing stand up in the Midwest is I've met a lot of people from the coasts and something that's not always but like sometimes is missing is like every room in the Midwest is different. And so you're walking into a different uh maybe political atmosphere or like sense of humor atmosphere every single room you go to. So you got to figure out how to keep it simple.
Most definitely. Indeed, I have a church show coming up on the 23rd on a Sunday, and I'm like, all right, I gotta come up with some clean material, like 7 to 10 minutes of clean material, because
Yeah.
I'm usually filthy, and I'm like, all right, I gotta challenge myself.
A
But you
church
can,
show on the Lord's Day. Wow.
yeah,
That'll be interesting.
yep. And it's not like any other church too. It's a black church too, and it's like it's gonna be it's an urban room meets a church crowd. So it's like those are like some of my toughest rooms that I've ever done because I'm
Sure.
like I'm super filthy and like gonna probably go to hell.
Did they ask you to do a sermon beforehand or what?
I no, not really, because like the guy that booked me, he's also like a preacher's kid,
Okay,
and
cool.
so he's but when he does jokes at the other places, he just like he's dirtier than I expected. But he goes, "Seth, but I love you. You're like one of the kindest comics, and so I believe
Nice.
we can do pull 7 to 10 like clean jokes out of you." And I'm like, I've
Yeah.
been practicing all month, and I'm like, I think I got this.
Yeah, dude, those preachers' kids are always dirtier than you expect. There's
Most
always there's always something. There's a really cool club in Cincinnati, Ohio called Commonwealth, and it's an old church. And so I thought they would the first time I went, I thought they would have us all sitting in pews and everything, but it's not quite the back rows pews. But it is super cool to watch comedy on that big church stage with all like the stained glass behind it. It's if you're ever in Ohio, if you're ever like near Cincy or in Indy, like it's worth the drive. Check that place out. It's very fun.
Dang, I need to. Like, I plan on going to like Ohio and do like Dayton and Yellow Springs. I really want to do the Chappelle's Club, but we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, Dayton's really fun. A lot of people from Dayton are super cool. I just did a show with a bunch of those Dayton people we were in Lexington, Kentucky. I did Don't Tell with David Lucas actually.
Oh, nice.
But that show was very fun and those Dayton guys are all killers.
Awesome. I love it from Dayton to Daytona. It's pretty rad.
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
I've never done stand up in Florida, but I've heard a lot of great things. I got to get down there at some point.
Oh, most definitely. The best part of to do stand up is in Central Florida. It's just Orlando, Daytona, Tampa. Like that whole I-4 line is just pretty rad.
Yeah.
Like crowd work is best in Miami and Spanish speakers, and then like upper Panhandle stuff. It's I don't know. I've done Tallahassee and Jacksonville. Jacksonville is like one of my favorite spots too. So
Okay. That's nice. You said crowd work in Miami.
yeah.
I'm wondering if, because you know Andrew Schultz went down there during the pandemic.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if he had a big impact on that crowd work culture down there, or was it crowd work to begin with? That would be something interesting to find out.
Most definitely. I rarely go down there because it's such a hike, and I'm like, but Central Florida is where it's at, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
everyone blows up from Central Florida for some strange reason. Like Cam Patterson, David Jolly, all from Orlando. Like Mark Gagnon's with Andrew Schultz,
Nice. Yeah.
and Jeffrey Wright is with Seth Meyers now. It's like they're just like Preacher Lawson's on America's Got Talent. It's like everyone just blows up from Orlando for some strange reason, something in the water.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's definitely something in the water down there. I was how so you said it was a hike from where you were, from Dayton or Daytona down to Orlando or Miami, or I'm wondering what's your like average drive time for shows?
Oh, an hour and a half,
Okay.
round one way. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty equal with the Midwest. I'm doing like 2 hours to Louisville, an hour to Indianapolis.
Oh, nice. I love Louisville. It's that I like Michael Kinberger's a dear friend of mine, and so
Oh,
yeah,
Kinberger is amazing. He's
yeah,
super funny.
he's a good kid.
I always say like I would say, "Oh yeah, he's a good person." I don't know what's on his laptop, but he's a good guy.
Yep. And Huck, his last name's Huck. Danny Hucks.
Yes, Danny Hux is just a teddy bear. God
Right.
bless him.
Indeed.
Oh man.
I love how small the like scene of in comedy really is, where like there's six degrees of separation with everyone. It's like pretty rad.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually doing a show down there June 28th with Erin Dowdle. I don't know if you've met her.
Mm,
She's pretty cool. She runs really good shows. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna go and try and see Danny while I'm down there. I think he's still in Lexington, or not Lexington, in Louisville.
for sure. Most definitely. I think I did a stand up once. It was at the Kaiju. I think, yeah, it's a good
Yes,
spot for comedy for sure.
yes. Kaiju's fun. I really like LLC, or LCC is Louisville Comedy Club down there, and then they have Caravan as well. Um, and then they have a new one, Louisville Laughs, just opened up about a year ago, maybe, and I've heard a lot of good things about them. So yeah, it's a big scene. It's also nice. Like I'm about to move out of the Midwest. I'm actually like moving to Denver in July, so I was super happy to get that show. But I'm moving out of the Midwest, and I just keep thinking like the Midwest is so great for comedy because you're within 100 miles of three-quarters of the population of the country. Like
Wow,
you can get every single kind of audience within 4 hours of driving.
that's pretty awesome. I'm looking to go to like Chicago and well, like Milwaukee was a lot of fun too, and so definitely Chicago's like heaven to me. Like it's well, definitely go branch out some more because I'm trying to do all 50 states. So we'll see what happens.
Nice,
Yep.
nice. Are you? What are you at now?
9.
9. Okay, so you
Yes.
got a ways to go, but you'll make it definitely doing comedy.
Oh, big time.
It'll, if you move to the Midwest, you'll add like 10 states from there.
Wow.
Um,
Definitely gonna do it. I got a new Subaru so I can handle all the snow and stuff. So that's nice.
Yes, yeah, you'll like Chicago. Chicago is really fun. It's a grind.
Big time.
There's it'll raise your energy a lot, and then you'll come down to like Indiana or Southern Illinois. There's a great show in Robinson, Illinois. They just started, um, and you'll be one of the killers just because you're doing it so much in Chicago.
For sure. I need to, and all everyone there that I've met is just so kind. It's like I don't know. I just love going there because it's just rad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If like
For
when you
sure.
go, let me know and I'll connect you with some people.
That'd be rad. That'd be
Yes.
awesome. Same for you if you come to Florida. I'm connected to like everyone pretty much. So
Awesome, dude. I appreciate it.
heck yeah. So Thomas, we talked about Bloomington, Indiana, and you're all the way from Little Rock, Arkansas too. And what was it like growing up in those cities and as a comic in those cities too?
So, I actually pretty much spent half my time Denver and Little Rock growing up. I came to Bloomington for college, so I've been here for about 5.5 years now. But Little Rock, it there is a stand up scene. I don't claim to be a Little Rock comedian just because I started doing stand up in Bloomington, Indiana. I've done a couple shows in Little Rock. Every time I go home, I do some shows. Um, but they've got a phenomenal open mic scene. There's a lot of people. There's always new people trying it. I'd like to see some more produced shows, but that just comes with time. They have two clubs as far as I know. I might be wrong, but they have a Looney Bin and then a small independent club called the Joint, which I love the Joint to death. It's a very nice room. Um, but I think Little Rock is one place that I could see myself going back to after I've done my time in the industry and like starting a club and trying to build that community bigger.
Most definitely. It's a great way to give back. Because like I lived in Florida for like 10 years now, but I always go back home to put on the fest because like it's like the most anticipated event of the summer, pretty much for all the people from like 18 to 35. And
Nice,
it's a
nice.
fun time for sure, and possibly 40s. Yeah, but it's gonna be a fun time for sure. I promise. So,
I'm very excited. I'm super pumped. I think last time I was in Pueblo was like 10 years ago, so I'm sure it's changed a lot. And then I just can't wait to like meet everyone there and see also the music acts. I love live music, so I'll be pumped to see all those.
heck yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, it's gonna be mostly metal bands because that's what all Pueblo is. So it's gonna be awesome.
I
It's
dig metal. I go with metal. It's not the main thing that I listen to, but I'll definitely vibe with it.
heck yeah.
I'm more of like I don't even know if you would describe Black Sabbath as metal anymore, but I would say like a little bit of Metallica, mostly Black Sabbath is my knowledge of metal.
Good stuff. Yep, these guys, they're like thrash and punk and just everything else. There's like a DJ too, so there's gonna be other genres. Like I saw Mixed Rage Against the Machine once with like James Brown. I was like, this is pretty awesome.
Okay, cool. Yeah, mentioning punk, I have to shout out. There's a great punk band in Indianapolis. My buddy Anthony is the lead singer. It's called Slur, and they've been making like a pretty decent amount of waves recently. So I would check those out.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah, I love discovering new music. I used to be a concert journalist in Los Angeles, so I would get paid to go to concerts all the time. So it's like the best gig ever, one of the best gigs of my life. So
That's awesome.
but I didn't want to go deaf anymore. That's for sure. It's just that ringing in your ear because you're so close. Like in one ear, you're hearing the crowd scream, and then from the other side, you're hearing the speakers, and it's just like all these genres of music is just
Yes. Yeah. I grew up doing like band and then when I got to college I wanted to do um like music management, arts management sort of stuff. So I kind of grew up around people who wear earbuds uh on the highway just to like protect their hearing and all that sort of stuff. I've always been super conscious of that. So I definitely feel that. It was weird that this is kind of a odd fact to even bring up, but if you're not wearing like earplugs on the highway, that deteriorates your hearing like 8 years in advance.
holy smokes.
Yeah,
Even in the car?
yeah.
Oh wow.
Windows up. Yeah, just because of like the constant white noise, it'll affect your hearing a lot.
Wow. I'm glad I carry like earplugs with me everywhere I go. I have these Vic Firth ones because I DJ at the Tiernanog Irish Pub or Tiernanog Irish Pub in Daytona, and so I'm like always right like by the PA and the mixers like right underneath it. So I got a DJ for all the comics. So it's like, and
Yeah,
some of the comics just scream into the microphones like, You don't really need to scream that loud. It's a small room.
Yeah,
So
sir, the microphone is made to do something, and it's to amplify your voice. You don't
pretty
have to
much.
yell.
Indeed. So you grew up in the Bible Belt, and so you saw all these different perspectives and stuff. And what was it
Yeah.
like growing up in the Bible Belt?
Oh, it was very interesting. So I grew up Jewish, and so I was always like one of the only Jewish kids at school or like in my community that I knew. Um, it was very quickly you learn how to respect everyone else's beliefs and step away from arguments that don't need to be had. But I think it definitely plays into my comedy a little bit where I don't know how specifically, it comes up a lot. It was very interesting. The first year that I was doing stand up, I was about like 9 months in and I had to take a step back and be like, "Oh, I just wrote 6 minutes of Jew jokes. Like this is probably not where I want to go." Ralphie May, I grew up loving Ralphie May's stuff because he is from Arkansas and like came up through that. And he has a quote that I always think of where he had to like throw away all his material when he was like 6 years in because he was doing really well. But someone came up to him and was like, all of your jokes are fat jokes. Like, do you want to be the fat comic or a comic who's fat? And every time I think like, oh, do I want to be that Jewish comic or do I want to be a comic who happens to be Jewish? So I think growing up in the Bible Belt, it tunnel visioned me to think that that was the only like unique part of me. And now I've had to like step back and reanalyze what I need to be doing and stand up.
For sure. Man, I love Alfie May. It's like I always watch his comedy masterclass on YouTube, like everyone's like all the time, pretty much, like just to refresh my memory of everything. So keep me sharp on my feet.
Is that the one at the Comedy Store?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, love that. Ari Shafir has a pretty good one too. That's more about the business of stand up rather than what Ralphie May was talking about of sort of like art. So I would check Ari Shafir's out as well.
For sure. It's just 3 hours. It's like, oh, jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something to press play and press pause a lot.
Yeah,
Throughout the week, you're just like, all right, let me throw that on.
yeah. It's like the Lord of the Rings. It's like, but his special was pretty rad on YouTube. So
Yes. Which one?
Ari's,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That newest one, I think it was just called Jew, was I think it was the best special I've seen in the last 5 years. I thought it was hilarious, but also that's coming from a Jew, so it's I can relate to a lot of it. There is a good podcast. Who's the guy who does We Are Having a Good Time? Oh
mm,
man, I'll
I
find
can
his
look.
name and remind it, but he's got a good podcast where he has like a 16 episode series that's just all about becoming a comic. And I highly recommend it to anyone. Oh, it's Dusty Slay.
Yep, Dusty Slay.
Yeah.
I had to look him up too. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone that's trying, I would recommend that.
which one was it? Like the podcast?
Yeah, we're having a good time. In the early years, he does like a 16 episode series that goes from literally writing your first joke, never being on stage, and the last episode is like becoming a headliner and like how to behave as a headliner. So it's a good step by step. And not to I think as anyone trying to become a comedian is like a very independent individual person, probably shouldn't be taking um step by step instructions from someone, but it is a good kind of guideline to stay in between the goalposts, sort of thing.
For sure. Now I need to look him up because my buddy Chris Buck is like, whenever Dusty comes down to Florida, Chris Buck always opens up for him. So he's a pretty good comic. So he hosts a hot potato comedy hour at Rain Dogs, and it's before the lockdown, it was like so many people, it was like on fire. It's now it's just like it starts late. I'm like, I don't know if I should stay here that late in Jacksonville, but because I have an hour drive, and I'm like, but I
Yes.
always go to the early mic. It's just starts on time and much smaller, intimate space. But there's people smoking there, so it drives me nuts. But yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely it. that whole thing took a lot of steam out of people, and we have to get it back. It was I was super happy to have done. So my first ever open mic was March 13th, 2020. And then literally that was a Thursday. And then the next day on Friday, my college sent out emails and was like, hey, you're all going home for the pandemic. And everything shut down right after I did my first open mic. So I had
Oh,
to figure
so
out, yeah, I got a taste of it. And then I was like, well, now I have 6 months to write and not test out any of this stuff.
indeed.
So,
And those Zoom shows are horrible. It's like, why? I only did like one or two. I'm like, I'm done with this.
oh man, I produced. I won't say produced because it was an open mic, but I hosted a an outdoor mic, and it was every week just talking to grass. And then it was nice in the summer because the sun would be up at 8:30, and you'd get done at 9:30. It's just getting dark, and then oh boy, in the winter it gets dark at 6, and it's just yeah, talking to dew and grass and cold air.
Dang, that's wild. Yeah, in Florida, we only locked down for 4 months, and then we were back to normal again.
That's nice. That's real nice.
It
Yeah.
was great. So I was back
Indiana
on
had it
stage.
shut down.
Ah, that's brutal.
Well, it
Um,
built a shell. It built a good I'm not going to say I don't mind bombing anymore cuz it does suck, and
yeah,
the second I don't care about bombing is the second I quit comedy cuz then I'll know I don't care about it anymore, but it did build a good shell as a beginner comic.
for sure. And definitely bombing has the best stories anyways, so
Oh man. Oh boy, I got to tell you this story. The
go for it.
worst I ever bombed was the first time, actually the only time I did acid on stage. And am I allowed to talk about this on here?
Yeah, I'm not regulated by the FCC, so go.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
And I'm never
Um,
even monetized either, so go.
all right, cool. So, dude, I must have gone on stage 3 times, grabbing the mic out of people's hands to be like, "Oh, it's my turn." I
Oh,
forgot. I
no.
thought it was the first time I got on stage. Every single time I did it, and all 3 times I got up there and was like, "I don't have anything. Sorry. Here you go."
That's too bad.
Dude, I thought I ruined the night, and then I went back to the venue the next day because it's my buddy's bar, and everyone was like, "No, that was the best night of comedy I've ever had." All right, cool, good.
Dang, that's
That was
crazy.
the hardest bomb I've ever felt, and people were like, "Just speak from the hearts. Do a stream of consciousness." I was like, "I'm peaking right now. I There's nothing up here. I'm just floating. I don't know what you want from me." But that is after that. There was a good 6 to 7 months where I was like, I can't fail because even if I bomb, it won't be as bad as that was.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man. But like with us, like we get like an hour to drive home and think about it, and then when you get home, it's already out of your system. So
Oh, dude. See, I'm the opposite. I get an hour to dwell on it. I'm thinking about that the whole time driving home, driving down the highway. I'm like, just a little bit, I could go into the other lane, just right here. If it was just a little worse of a bomb, just right there.
indeed. Yeah, my worst bomb was on my birthday, and I bought cake for everyone, and they didn't eat it, and it was like my it was my birthday show, and I said, "All right, everyone, like tell your favorite joke of mine. You can like impersonate me too." And I totally forgot about it for some because my mind's always everywhere else whenever I'm producing something, and I just went up there and bombed and sang happy birthday to myself, and I bought like the world's most expensive red velvet cake. No one ate it, and they just ate the cheap Hostess ding dongs. I'm like, this sucks.
Oh man,
So
that
that's
is tough.
bombing in a nutshell. But other than that, I've bombed many times too. But man, sometimes you
That's
need
a
that
that's a good birthday gift to yourself. Is a little bit of a humbling experience to bring you back down to earth.
big time. And
I learned.
the
Sorry, go
poster,
ahead.
the poster was just like a being John Malkovich, but it's like being Sareth Ney, and it was like the movie poster and everything. Yeah, it's just perfect. But nobody ate so many, you know, ding dongs on stage.
Nice, dude.
Yeah,
Nice,
big old
nice.
bag of ding dongs.
I learned really quickly at shows. I learned really quickly because I tried to do like a specialty show like that once as well, where it's like tell your favorite joke of mine, and I learned really quickly to not do those because I I don't know, but for me it feels like I'm kind of kissing my own ass. So
Mm,
now I just tell people to I do like specialty shows on birthdays where we'll have like a board of things or like spin a wheel to be like do an impression or like or riff off something the audience wants or something. We just did a really fun specialty show that Eric Hook actually, he's a good comic in Bloomington and Indianapolis. I would recommend looking him up. He produced the specialty show, very fun, and it was a pretty long show. I feel like it was 10 comics, but it felt like it went by fast because everyone was just having such a blast.
sounds like so much fun. I love those special needs shows because sometimes if you do like straight stand-up shows all the time, it's just so boring. And that's what like I try to do something special with the festival. It's like, all right, we got high and dry comedy show where you can improvise your entire set, just draw two topics written by the other comics, and then like loose leaf a storytelling show, which is like this is not happening, and so it's gonna be we got a podcast going. And I'm gonna interview like the venues owners and stuff. So it's gonna be a wild time for sure. We're gonna go all heavy with the metal, and then like slowly land the plane, and so it's gonna be pretty rad.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So you mix, you have a passion of one-liners and long form storytelling, and how did you find your voice in stand up?
Oh, dude, I still haven't found it. I think a lot of people talk about finding your voice in stand up as if it's like a milestone to hit. Uh, but it's definitely something as far as I'm concerned that like continually evolves. You never really know if you find your voice or when you find your voice. Now, of course, this is coming from a 3-year comic that doesn't know any better. This is all out of my ass, but um, there was a point where I wrote one joke that was it was about the like newish Little Mermaid movie, and it was a joke that just popped into my head. I wrote it down, and I was like, I've never heard that take before because everyone's doing a joke about that movie. I've never heard that take before, and then I did it on stage, and I was like, this is the best joke I've ever written. I feel like now I know how to write a joke. I feel like the jokes that I had before this were just words that I thought were funny. And so as soon as I wrote that joke, I broke it down and was like, okay, well, this is why it's funny. This is how it's written. And now I'm going to write more jokes that have this structure and are funny because of this same reason. Um, and I used to be like a one liner comic. I used to do one liners over like a little guitar riff, kind of like Dimitri Martin, if you've seen him. But then I realized like, oh, I have all of these one liners about this same topic. Why not find like short, maybe half sentence transitions between them, put them all together, and then make a story out of it? So that's the way that I kind of turn one liners into long form storytelling. And I think for people who don't do stand up but are fans of stand up, if you start watching your favorite comedians with that in mind, with that like one liner into storytelling mechanic in mind, that's kind of seeing behind the curtain. That's like seeing how the sausage is made. I think everyone really does that, and or they'll write a long form joke and break down every single line and say what can be funnier in this line. How do I get a laugh on this? And that's, as far as I'm concerned, my voice right now is um, one liners into long form stories.
Indeed, for sure. I have been working on it for like 10 years myself, and I just like I just go in order from the time that before I was born to now, and just like
Okay.
now I know where I'm at. So I sprinkle everything. It's like a big old gumbo. I don't know where the one-liners are gonna pop or when the big old storytelling is, but it just goes with age. So
Yeah,
it's a fun one.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think, I think whoever's like doing it, in order to even like think that you can be a comedian, you kind of have to be a perfectionist. Um, and so you're constantly looking back and judging yourself. Ari Shafir says something where he's like, if you watch a video of yourself doing stand up from last year and you don't hate yourself, then you're not doing it right. Because it is just constantly about getting better. I'll look at the reels that I've put up on Instagram and see one from last year, and I'm like, this is so dog shit. I gotta take this down. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it is representative of me as a comic, so I'll keep it up. But I'll go back to that joke and see if I can make it better to post something better.
For sure. That's why I only put a few clips on Instagram. I'm like, this is I don't know, it's rough. So I release like mini specials on my YouTube channel on like on holidays now. So it's
Nice.
like yeah, I got like one called Man on the Moon on July 4th, and it's at a place called the Moon Room at Pineapples Egad, and it's in Melbourne. It's like one of the most amazing stages ever, like venues.
Melbourne,
Florida.
Australia. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
I
wish I
thought
was
you were
there.
doing I thought you were doing stand up in Australia. It's been like, that's cool.
One day, I got to get my passport updated and renewed, and then I'll go. I want to go to England first because I promised my one of my dear friends that I would go and do stand up there.
Nice. Well, dude, if you get your passport and you don't wear that Wu-Tang beanie in it, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Indeed, for
Like,
sure.
Sareth, what are we doing here, man?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm recognized as is all over the place. And speaking of all over the place, you performed across the country. And what are some of your favorite states you performed in?
Oh man. Well, I love Denver. I don't know, dude. I've always loved Denver. I've always felt most at home in Denver whenever I visit. And the as far as I'm concerned, being an outsider, the scene is super welcoming. And again, they respect like good joke writing. It's not, again, outsider perspective, but I haven't felt that clickiness. Um, oh boy, I did a great show in Chicago about an hour and a half outside of the city during their Oktoberfest. It was very fun. So it was a day of drinking, and then we just went and I did a 10-minute spot, and I had to go bark, which was, you know, if you've ever barked or if anyone out there has ever barked, it can be a little intimidating, but not during an Oktoberfest. Trying to get drunk people into a comedy show is like trying to give a dog a bone. It is so like it might be the easiest possible thing to do, and it was a lot of fun. That's called the Law Office, I believe in. Oh, I'm not even going to pretend to remember the name of the town, but the Law Office in Chicago, Illinois. That was one of my favorite spots. Um, and then St. Mark's in New York is I'm not going to say it's like a tiny little room because I've seen smaller, but it is maybe like a 100-person room. And that's like breaching the fire marshal's warning. But it is pretty friendly, very nice room. And it's right down the street from, oh boy, from the Comedy Cellar. So I would check that out for sure.
Awesome. Thanks for all the heads up. And so, with this episode of the Stand Up Speakeasy, we're raising funds for the Alzheimer's Music Project. And why did you choose them?
I did some work with them back in the day. I think it's such an interesting it's an interesting aspect of the disease. Like Alzheimer's affects practically every family. Um, and the idea that music can soothe the symptoms of a disease in the brain and really help build back synapses in that brain. Now, it's not going to like cure the disease, of course, but just the idea that music can do these medical miracles is so well, it's miraculous to me. Again, I grew up playing instruments and I grew up in band, so I did a service project in middle school. That was the first thing that I thought of, was like, how can I tie music and my love of music into this? And I found that Alzheimer's organization, and I started reading more about the effects of music, specifically classical music, on the brains of Alzheimer's patients, and it's definitely something that's worth looking into if you're at all interested, just because it is like revolutionary. At one point, they didn't know that music had any effect with these patients, and then as soon as it happened, it became one of the leading therapies for these patients. So that's why I chose that organization, because I do have prior experience working with them, and I also think it's just such a very interesting thing that they're doing.
Most definitely. Indeed. That's a great project, and I'm glad you're working with them, and I'm glad that we're raising funds for them too. And so we have an audience member in the watching. So if you'd like to interact in the chat, you're more than welcome to, but be nice to us. Yeah. So
Or
I
be mean. Or be
yes,
mean.
or be mean. Sure, why not? So this is Act Two of the show, and it's the questions I always ask. It's the usual questions I ask all the comics I've ever interviewed, and there's like 1,000 interviews on my YouTube channel, right? So with that being said, Thomas, what inspired you to perform stand-up comedy? We might go back to like some of the answers that you had earlier. So
Okay. So I never like thought of myself as a funny person growing up, but I am absolutely someone who teaches myself how to do things. I've always been super into advancing my own like personal growth, and so I figured, being funny is probably the same as anything else. You practice it and you can be better. And so I decided to try stand up comedy to see if I could get better. I was always the kid that wanted to be in business. And I was like, well, I can't, climb the ranks of business if I'm not charismatic. Charismatic, I got to be funny. So, how do I get funnier? Let's start doing stand up comedy. And when I tell people that, they're always like, you weren't scared to get on stage. And I'm like, I've I kind of grew up on stage. I did a bar mitzvah when I was 13. I was on just in temple, going to religious services, being on stage from day one. So the stage thing was not an issue. The issue was getting funny. I would say it took me about a year and a half to figure out what was funny. I'm still learning how to be funny. I even right now, like I'm getting booked more than I ever have, and it's never going to be enough for me. But I still don't think I'm funny. I write some things down and I work to make them funny, but me as a person, who knows? I'm not the one to make that call. But the main reason I started stand up was to get funny, and I always tell people to try it. You know, don't be afraid, even if you think you're the least funny person in the world, just try it once. Don't knock it till you try it.
most definitely, we got more people in the audience. You're pretty popular, Thomas. So yeah, feel free to interact in the chat. Be mean to us if you want, or be nice, whatever. Let's see here, Thomas. And what was it feeling like when you first performed stand up?
What was the feeling like?
Mhm.
Oh, dude, I think this is pretty common with first timers. I feel like I killed it. The first time I got on stage was the best I've ever felt about a set to this day, because I didn't know better. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I just had so much false confidence. And it looking back at that feeling, it kind of like pushes me forward to try and get back there to that like sense of confidence. Because I know, like, looking back on how hard I worked to become friends in the scene and like become someone like in the scene of Indianapolis and Bloomington, I think the false confidence up front kind of screwed me over a little bit, in the early days. But I think I quickly got down to earth, and it all stemmed from really feeling like I was the best comedian on the planet the first time I did it. And soon after watching the video and being like, oh, this is dirt. This is worse than dirt.
For sure, awesome stuff. I Good times doing stand up for sure. My first time was in LA, but I put my first set up on my YouTube channel. I'm like, this is bad, but I'm still gonna leave it up there.
A lot of people do that. They always post social media of clips that are not like polished, and more power to you, because I did not think the internet was going to play such a big part in comedy until I like really got invested in this. And sometimes it calls for just posting everything.
Yep, for sure. You never know which is gonna go viral, so
Lord
not that I
knows.
plan on ever going viral. I'm much like, if you find me, find me. I just prefer to be low key anyways. So
Yeah. Dude, if anyone knew how to go viral, they would do it. And I mean, Mr. Beast probably knows how to go viral, but if I knew how to go viral, yeah, I probably, yeah, I would either be in LA or New York.
for sure, indeed. So I promise you we have like 45 minutes. It's like at the 40-minute mark, so I wanted to give you a 5-minute warning. So if you want, we'll just like do a lightning round with the rest of the questions. All right.
Okay. I think I got a little more time, so we can stretch it if you'd like.
Okay, cool. That'll work for me then. Let's see here. So what are your favorite comedy specials, comedy records, and comedy podcasts?
Oh man. I started on Two Bears. So I grew up not even knowing that stand up existed. I was an Austin Powers, Monty Python's kind of sketch kid, not knowing that standing on stage telling jokes was a job. And then when I started watching Two Bears, One Cave with Bert and Tom, uh, in their earlier days, I don't watch it anymore. I think it kind of, they got a little too famous. But I found out what they did, and I was like, oh, you can get paid to talk into a microphone on stage. That's pretty sick. Let me go that direction. Um, Again, Ralphie Mays. I'm not really good with names of specials, to be honest. I did like Andrew Santino's cheeseburger. That was great. Um, and then, oh boy, what was Richard Pryor's first special? I'm not going to remember the name of that, but that's, I mean, all time favorite.
For sure. I mean, all of his specials are pretty good, like Live on Sunset Strip and all that other stuff. It's that one, like when there was like the photographer that was in the front row taking pictures and he got mad in the beginning. And I was like, that's totally me because I'm always taking pictures of the comics.
Yeah, dude. It's hard to compete with one of the engineers of the art. Like comedy is so young that we're still watching it form. And Richard Pryor absolutely built one of the pillars of comedy, and it's hard to compete with that.
For sure, most definitely. He's one of my favorites for sure, and like that's why I think why I'm so filthy. It's like Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, and Rudy Ray Moore were my inspirations. So it's like I'm super filthy, but there's no curse words in my set, so which makes it really nice. My nickname is like the cleanest, dirtiest comic in Daytona Beach by my friend Kevin, and then
Oh, really?
yep,
Okay.
and then my
Hell
friend
yeah.
in Chicago called me the poet laureate of Pornhub. So
Nice.
yeah,
That's a good one. Ron White is also up there. Um,
awesome.
Ron White is, I know he's not clean, but he almost, in my mind, I want to say that he's clean, but I know he's not. It's kind of weird. It might be the suit. It might be the suit and the bourbon that strikes me as a clean comic, but he's not.
Nope. Indeed. Good stuff. Gotta love those old the white collar guys or the red blue collar guys.
Blue collar, yes.
That's the one, blue collar. Let's see. And some of those guys have been on TV and film. And so, what are your favorite comedy movies and TV shows, all that stuff?
Oh man, there's so many. Again, I grew up on Monty Python, so Holy Grail is gonna be my number one. Um, Comedy movies, dude. I don't know if I'd consider Weird Science a comedy movie. It kind of is, but what a phenomenal, what a phenomenal like culture change when I found that. Um, Comedy movies. I'm a big Adam Sandler fan. People give Adam Sandler shit, but um and rightly so, but I'm still always going to be a fan of Big Daddy. Going to be a
Yeah,
huge fan of Will Ferrell's Blades of Glory. Blades of Glory not as popular as it should be. And then of course Step Brothers is an easy go-to. There's nothing that can beat John C. Riley thinking he can sing. It is perfect.
for sure. So we talk sketch and movies. How about sitcoms?
Oh boy. Not a huge, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not a fan of sitcoms. I really liked that 70s show. I'm watching Always Sunny right now. Always Sunny is probably the best one out of all of them. I liked Seinfeld. Again, that's a pillar. You're not going to beat that. Um, a lot of people shit on Friends. I really liked Friends. I uh, I really liked Chandler's character, and also big fan of Jennifer Aniston for obvious reasons.
She never ages for sure. So,
Yeah,
yep, indeed. We got a comment in the group called Okoy, enjoying the show, guys. Hey, Sareth, this is a Quez from the Orlando scene. So shout out to him. We perform stand together. Like he goes everywhere too. Like we have to. Like Orlando, Melbourne, all that stuff. So
yeah,
thanks for the
dude.
shout out.
It's comedy is it's a lot of fun. I've never been a guy that wants to do the road, but I know it's necessary.
Big time.
And yeah, like driving an hour and a half for 10 minutes and then an hour and a half back, it's just another grind, but it has to be done.
Big time. I mean, like when the time comes, I don't mind being like in Austin or Chicago where everything's like, not too far away from each other. But we have to put in the mileage because if we plan on being on tour, like a 6 hour drive is not going to be that bad,
Yeah,
you know?
you have to get used to it. I was just watching um Andrew Santino had a relatively new podcast on Whiskey Ginger. Um God, I forgot the kid's name, but he's from Dallas. He's a uh, up and coming Mexican kid, and he was talking about how he's like totally stressed out and drained from the road. And I wonder if it has to do with starting in a city that has so many close mics. Because you and I were getting used to it. Like it's building this shell of, oh, I gotta drive for this.
Yep.
And then when you go on tour, great. I've done this before. I've been doing this for 10 years.
Yep.
It's cool.
Heck yeah. Yeah, the longest I've ever driven was from like a little Jasper, Georgia, which is an hour north of uh, Atlanta, all the way down to Tallahassee, which was like a 7 hours, 6, 7 hour drive, just to do like 5, 10 minutes. But I was on tour for like I did like 14 performances in 10 days, like back to
Oh,
back.
nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, I called it the Dirty Son of a Peach tour. It says because there's sun as in Sunshine State and peach as in the Georgia peach. So,
Nice, dude. That's
so I
funny.
did two of them so far, but I learned that 2 weeks is enough. Like if you do a month like I did the last time, forget about it. It was rough. But
Dude, one of the hardest working people I've ever met in this industry is named Dan Alton. And
oh,
yeah, you know him.
yep, yep,
Dude, he releases like Instagram posts about like once every 2 months. And just every single day between that 2 month span is booked. And it's just constant travel. He's on the road every day. I'm like, yeah, that is the life that we're going towards.
yep,
This is what we're trying to do.
for sure. He's such an inspiration. I bought a shirt from him when he was on tour in Jacksonville, and it was like the Mothman was on it, and
Moth Dan, dude.
the
Hell
Moth,
yeah.
yeah.
Love that.
And his the anal joke is so hilarious, and I was like, all right,
Hilarious.
yeah, good stuff. Um, let's see. If speaking of touring, if you can go on tour with any comic locally and internationally known, which comics would you like to go on tour with?
Locally and internationally known. Oh man. Well, that begs the question, do I want to enjoy my tour or do I want to like get the fame off the name, you know? I'm going to go with enjoying my tour. I'm going to bring in terms of comics. Oh, I would want to bring David Brooks to outshine me at every show so that people have a good time. David Brooks is an Indianapolis guy, absolute killer. Um, uh, Mandy McKelvey from Louisville. She just released a special. I think it's called Clam, and she is one of the funniest people you'll ever watch do stand up. So those are two headliners that I would want to build that relationship with and go on the road with. I would definitely be opening or featuring at that point. Um, and then you got to bring your tour crew, best friend, brother, people who you want around you to hang out and help write some funny stuff.
For sure, most definitely, excellent picks. And let's see, Aaron, if you can get roasted by five comedians, top five dead or alive, which comedians would you get roasted by?
Okay, Tony Hinchcliffe immediately, just because he is that. I mean, that's what he does is roasting. Um, Ralphie May, absolutely. Ron White, absolutely. So that's three. Um, some of these are just so that I can meet them. Honestly, uh, I met Sam Talent in the green room at the Comedy Attic. Uh, Very nice guy. He roasted me there, but I would love to hear an actual like roast set. Um, and then fifth one, oh, it's a tie between Big J or Dan Soder.
Oh, good
I
stuff.
think if I could get them as a duo, then that would be the fifth one.
For sure. Speaking of Big J and Dan Soda, they're going to be on tour here on Sunday at the Ocean Center. And I'm going to go see it. I'm going to put my launch party on the same night. So, right after the festival ends, the Fully Loaded Comedy Festival. Um,
Nice.
and let's see here. Where do you see your comedy journey in the next 5 years?
I've always been someone who wants to jump around states, but I really think so. I'm moving to Denver in July. I really think Denver is a city that I could be in for 20 to 30 years, dude. I think a lot of people are going to be moving to Denver when, say what you will about global warming, but when those oceans levels rise, where are you going other than Mile High, you know? Um,
Indeed.
so I could see myself in Denver. I would love to become like a Denver headliner where I'm passed at all the clubs and then I can also, nationally tour. Um, I've always loved New York, but last time I went, the energy level drained me. I think I would burn out immediately as soon as I get there. So I could see myself doing stints, like fake moves to New York, where I just stay on a couch for a month or two. Um, but other than like location, I would love to be within the next 5 years. You said I would love to have a show in the works, at least a pilot that I could be going around trying to sell, and then touring. Yeah, doing festivals, that sort of stuff. Hopefully, maybe past festivals uh, to where I know the bookers around the country and regional bookers.
Most definitely. A great podcast for that is called Always Booking Comedy. It's with a Denver comic too, Mark Masters. It's on YouTube. So you'll also always see all the bookers from different states. So that'll help guide your way.
Okay, cool. Thank
And
you.
so I'll remind you too if you ever need it. So he also produces the Vail Comedy Festival too. So he's a pretty good guy. I met him at High Plains. And also, what's your favorite joke a comic has written?
It's a favorite joke a comic has written. Well, of course it would be one of mine.
Yeah, why not?
Not at all, dude. My favorite joke that a comic has written. Um, Dude, I think the entire special of Ari Shafir's Jew, um, but because that was all so seamless together. Um, Also, Ralphie May's. It's definitely not like PC now, but Ralphie May's whole bit about he's like the Muslim is gonna get you. that was that one's great, and Cuba diving. That's a great bit. Um, yeah, those are when I think of specific bits. Those are the ones that come to mind. Ron White has a great intro bit that I think it's just a throwaway, where he's like, "Yeah, last time I was in this city, I turned down a three-way. It was one of those three ways where it was two guys and me." Like, nice, dude. That's clever.
Good stuff. Awesome. And what experience would you like your audience to take with them after your set is over?
Um, when I got into this, I analyzed the audience that I thought I was speaking to, and I want people to leave shows uh, decompressed. I want them to be de-stressed. Like not. I'm not trying to say like make a safe space, but like I want them to feel safe, just like in life in general. Like, oh, everything's okay. Because I know, I'm again, I work too. I don't do this full time, so I know working 50 to 60 hours a week is like so ridiculous, and it's not. We're not designed for that. And then you have and then I am blessed that you spend tickets on this show and come to see me. I want you to, one, feel like it was well spent money, and two, feel like you're recharged for the next week, so that life isn't as tough as sometimes it feels.
Most def, indeed. And so this is the third act and final act. And what like this is a stand-up speakeasy, it says Secret Society of Stand-up Comics. And with that being said, which five comics like in your circle would you like to see on a future episode of the stand-up speakeasy?
Sohail Ali, Bloomington guy. Very cool. He just did the Limestone Festival here in town, and he's a Comedy Attic regular. Very awesome guy. Eric Hook, again, great guy. Limestone Comedy Festival as well. Passed the Comedy Attic and does shows all around the Midwest. He actually just did a festival in Minnesota. Duncan Kissinger is an Indianapolis guy, one of the funniest joke writers I've ever met. I think he's the closest thing to Stephen Wright that I've ever heard. Just such a funny guy. Let's see, 4 and 5. Aaron Dipke just moved from here to New York. She's one of the greatest natural talents I've met. Hilarious. Aaron Dipke is, again, passed to the Comedy Attic, just did Limestone. She actually headlined a show at the Attic a couple months ago. Definitely someone to meet. And then James Tanford is another guy who moved from here to New York, and just a sweetheart, great joke writer, pretty much everything you'd want in a comic.
Heck yeah. You might have to give me all their spellings of their names too, so I can reach out to them and stuff and get them
Yeah,
on the show.
definitely.
And awesome. And let's see, what are your future shows coming up?
Oh, I've got I'm doing Don't Tell Nashville tomorrow night. And then June 28th will be Aaron Dowdle's show in Louisville. That is let's see what it's called. I believe it'll be, let me find the actual place. That'll be at all right, well, there's no there's no address on this poster. That's something to think about if anyone's ever making posters for comedy. Put an address on there. Let's see. And then I'm doing the Bloomington Comedy Festival on June 26th and 27th. That'll be at the Comedy Attic. And then I'm going to Arkansas this next week. I'm going to try and find a couple shows to get on. I know there's a lot of open mics, but I haven't had luck getting on produced shows, so we'll see.
Heck yeah. So many festivals coming up for you this summer. It's wild.
I'm very excited, and I'll just be submitting to even more. It's as a comedian, I feel like it's not as much talked about, but you do work to get a good tape. I mean, you film everything, and it's a lot of luck to get a good tape. I think I'm finally there, and so now I feel comfortable submitting to things.
Most definitely. And for me, I got June 16th at the Tiranoga Irish Pub in Daytona Beach for the Sweatfest launch party immediately after the Fully Loaded Comedy Festival because I don't want to step on their toes. I guess it's an unofficial launch, after party. June 21st, I'll be at Vape Florida in Melbourne, Florida. June 23rd at the new Shiloh's Christian Center in Melbourne, Florida with a quiz that's in the chat. And then we got June 26th at the new Talon's Beer Works in Orlando, Florida. So shout out to all the bookers that booked me. Those are some nice gigs. So with that being said, follow Thomas on all his socials that are below this description box below, and also donate to his nonprofit charity of choice, Alzheimer's Music Project. The link is in the description box below as well. And Thomas, with that being said, we're just at the 15 minutes, 15 seconds left. So, any final words you'd like to give out to the audience?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for having me, Sareth. And I'm super excited for this festival in July.
Fantastic. I am too. Shout out to K Nails and Spa and Kwan's Kitchen for giving me for hooking me up with a free food and the manicure and pedicure, and Liquid Death for sending some special stuff there that way too. So awesome, good stuff. All right, Thomas. I will see you soon. I'll send you the link as soon as I publish this. And Aquez, thanks for joining us. I will have you as a guest too in the future. See you at the shows, fellas and ladies and gentlemen. Be well. Take it easy. See you next time at the Stand Speakeasy. Awesome, bud. Thank you so much.